Parker Schnabel is becoming increasingly desperate in his search for gold at Smallwood Creek. He's relying on old stories to guide his drilling on the valley's east side, hoping to find something valuable. Driven by legends of hidden wealth, he sets up new drills downstream with his partner Liam. However, each failure leaves them more frustrated. The emotional and financial strain is growing as each empty drill site makes them question if there's any gold left. The deep drilling is also becoming more expensive and difficult due to complex equipment. Join us as they attempt to uncover secrets buried by time. Parker Schnabel's attempts to replicate past drilling successes at Smallwood Creek, Alaska, seem to be falling short despite earlier promising signs. The current efforts feel more like a gamble than a sure thing. Now Parker plans to try his luck downstream, specifically targeting the east side of the valley. Lured by roars of richer gold deposits, Parker and his team move about 2,000 feet to this supposedly more promising area, driven more by hope than solid evidence. As Parker and Liam set up to drill 2 new lines of holes, they feel increasingly frustrated. They're not just looking for gold, they're desperately searching for any indication that their efforts are worthwhile. They need to find a consistent streak of gold to confirm the site's potential wealth. Each failed attempt increases their doubt, making the dream of finding gold seem more like a wild chase. Their strategy relies more on old tales and guesswork than solid data. They are heavily betting on the belief that the east side of the valley holds more gold. As they start drilling in new test areas downstream, the tension rises. Every drill that doesn't hit gold lowers their morale and gives critics more reason to doubt the site's potential. The terrain is tough to navigate both physically and emotionally, and each disappointing drill result adds to their financial strain. The stakes are high, and the pressure to prove themselves is growing. Parker must confront the possibility that the land might not deliver the riches they hope for, and each fruitless effort is a harsh reminder that success in gold mining is never guaranteed. This chase is testing their patience and persistence as Parker and his team push forward, driven by the fading hope of striking it rich. Drill for gold is getting more expensive, especially as they go deeper into the ground, but fortunately at a depth of 100. The team found some gold, but there was one problem. Extracting this gold would cost 5 times more than what it usually costs in places like Klondike. Essentially, they would be paying much more for just a bit more gold. The process requires a lot of heavy and complicated equipment. First, they drill down with a large tube called a core barrel. Once it's deep enough, they cover it with another tube, like putting a cover over it to keep everything in place. Then they pull everything up to see what they found. When they bring up the soil and rocks, it's not what you might expect. It's mostly clay and very fine particles, similar to sticky muddy gravel, with pieces of hard rock mixed in. When they wash all this mud off, hoping to see some shiny gold, they usually find just tiny bits of R and a lot of dirt. This drilling chews through the ground, making a big mess, but they keep going, hoping to strike it rich. It's hard work, and it costs a lot. They keep the machines running, digging deeper and deeper, always hoping the next core they pull up will be the one that pays off big. It's a never-ending cycle of digging, covering, pulling up, and washing. Each time they think they might get the jackpot, but more often it's just more dirt and disappointment. Still, the promise of finding gold keeps them going, investing more money and effort, chasing after the chance of a big discovery that might cover all their costs and more in this tough game of drilling for gold. The stakes are high and disappointments are part of the job, but the hope of hitting a rich spot keeps everyone motivated. Constantly drilling, pulling up dirt, and dreaming of gold. It's a tough, dirty job with moments of excitement, but also so many challenges. They were hopeful that the gold would start to show up more as they made their way deeper into the valley. The idea was that as the valley walls closed in, they would help gather more gold from the earth below. At the bottom of their recent excavation, the team discovered a tiny piece of gold, a small but hopeful sign of success. There can you see that there's a bit of gold, someone remarked, straining to spot the faint shimmer. They soon found a second piece, which brought a bit more excitement, though finding gold remained difficult, and the rewards were often modest. They collected the material from their slough setup and took it to their mobile setup known as the gold room. Every time they hoped this would be the moment they'd see a significant amount of gold colors should start showing up soon. One team member said, mixing hope with the weariness from all the effort this round of panning for. Gold proved more challenging than usual. The gold was extremely fine, almost like powder intended to slip out of the pan. Panning this fine gold tested their patience. Each movement had to be precise, not too forceful, but firm enough to keep the gold from slipping back into the water. The tiny particles of gold seemed elusive, almost teasing them as they slipped away with every swirl of the pan. "This stuff is really hard to work with," someone complained, frustration clear in their voice. These words captured the difficulty of their task, repeated countless times, before always presenting new challenges. Despite this, they persisted, driven by the thrill of finding gold and the desire to avoid returning empty-handed each time they began panning. They hoped for better results, that the ground would be more generous. However, nature was not easily giving up its treasures. The gold they found was sparse, making them realize just how tough their endeavor was. They were merely visitors sifting through layers of the earth's ancient history, hoping each pan might yield something better than the last. Their days were long and filled with this repetitive task, each cycle of digging and panning, marked by brief moments of excitement, followed by extended periods of painstaking work. The beauty of the landscape around them was often overshadowed by their intense focus on the soil and water. Occasionally, as they stood in the stream with cold water rushing past their boots, they'd look up and remember their surroundings, engage in an age-old human quest, the search for wealth in the earth's raw simplicity. As days turned into weeks, their initial excitement gave way to the reality of the task. They learned to manage their expectations and understand the land and its ways. Every so often, a glint of gold in the pan would rekindle their excitement, pushing them to continue to believe that the next pan might make all their hard work worthwhile. Yet it was always clear gold panning required as much persistence and endurance as it did luck in gold mining. Finding only 2 milligrams of gold is disappointing, far below the 200 milligrams needed for a mining operation to be successful. Drilling down to 100 feet took a lot of effort, but the results were far from what they hoped for. Even when they drilled a bit deeper to 101.5 feet, the gold they found was minimal, barely worth the effort and cost. The decision to finish up at this location and move across the valley is driven by hope rather than solid evidence. Optimism is crucial in mining, even if it sometimes feels like wishful thinking, especially when results are disappointing. Moving to a new site is a common strategy, mixing hope with necessity, as mining often involves chasing potential gold deposits. Despite past failures, the work at 101.5 feet yielded almost nothing valuable, yet the team is ready to start again, digging in another area with hopes of better rewards. This constant search for gold is a gamble, with each new drill site being a risk. This is the nature of gold mining, a tough business where success is rare and failures are common.